Hi there, it's Sam, and I'm going to title this Trial, Trauma, and Triumph. We have to end in triumph, and I know we do end in triumph, and it's pretty funny. I just recorded this exact message, and for the first time ever, it just disappeared. And so it's kind of funny because I made a commitment that I was going to share short little messages. And I have so much to say that Joe's actually kind of laughing at me because I'll wake up in the morning and I'm still kind of asleep. And as he calls it, I'm preaching. And Joe is my husband, if you didn't know. And I woke up the other day and I was, what was on my heart. So when I go to sleep, one of the prayers is for dreams and visions and revelations. And this time, a little bit later than this, last year, we had a dear friend ended up ending his life through medical assistance in suicide, in dying, euthanasia. But the circumstances around that were very painful. And I just sat there and I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. All around us, the government where we live had just introduced full mask mandates. And I'm one of those people that actually is very traumatized by looking at masks. So that means I cover pictures, and going out is like, it triggers a trauma response. And what's really interesting about that is a friend recently is a nurse, and he was a trauma nurse. He's retired now, and he was talking about how people are so traumatized that what happens in the programming, the television programming, it actually disengages your rational thinking, so that the messages that come in, and of course being bombarded with fear, when your rational thinker has been disengaged, what we're dealing with is a trauma response. And when I realized that the government was mandating masks and that it causes a trauma response from something that happened in my 20s, I went to see the doctor. Actually, you couldn't go see the doctor, you had to phone, because another friend who's a master's in counseling, he said, just go get an exemption. And I said, well, it's not going to help looking at it, but he said, at least it's a start. I said, fair enough. Well, the doctor told me that there was nothing they could do, but here's a prescription for a pill, because public health had said that the medical professions are not allowed to issue exemptions. Now that right there triggered in me, oh boy, public health is the government agency overseeing our medical system. So I already knew at the beginning of COVID that this had to do with the economy. And not the economy as in the Great Reset, the New World Order, World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and be happy, but the one where we were actually taking the world off of the fiat system, the debt-based system, and returning it to the gold standard. I've known that since about 2007, that there was a move to do that. So at the beginning of COVID, I knew this had to do with the economy. In the fall of last year, I experienced the trauma myself because it triggered a traumatic memory. The medical profession, all they could do was issue a pill because public health was threatening them with their licenses. Now, of course, you fast forward that and we can see what's going on with this medical, just the medical system, is the political system. All of the systems, our cultural systems, are being impacted financially. Our church is also, excuse me, our churches also have taken handouts. And we have people that don't want to work. There has been programming that has caused division. So we can see the trials, we can see the economic impact. We can see that there is trauma. And it's fascinating because what I awoke with the other day was, actually, let's back up. When our friend died in the fall, I cried out. I said, okay, I can't deal with this, Lord. I need a greater revelation of who you are and who I am. That's it. I'm done. And that prayer has been answered in such supernatural ways. I have way too many words to share, but that's why I'm going to start sharing little snippets. And so I went to the book of Revelation, not because I wanted to know about end times, because the book of Revelation starts with a revelation of Jesus Christ. Well, what I have got is so rich and deep that I'm working right now on a 10-part little mini series to explain sort of how I got there, so that I can start to introduce others to this great, incredible hope, because we really are at a place where we've been going along and we are right at the Red Sea. In behind us is the Egyptian army, the army, which is the people that are now trying to get us to agree and follow their thinking, their mindset, the mindset of Egypt, all their rules and regulations. The puppets, the political puppets, the medical puppets, the people that have bought into this. And so that's coming in very, very, very quickly behind us, and we're facing the Red Sea. Collectively, at some point, we're going to have to rise up with the power and the authority of the Spirit of God that is in us, the stuff that Jesus came and showed us. And this is going to get into a longer discussion, and we will go there. So right now, because we're going to talk about rapture, we're going to talk about great tribulation, we're going to talk about some of these things, but we're going to talk about it from a spiritual, it's just a dry tickle. It's smoky where I live again. From a spiritual, symbolic, a scientific, a societal, a historic, cultural, and personal, relational perspective, as well as literally, what does the word say? So symbolically, right now, we can see the natural, the spiritual, and the physical parallels when we read scripture. And when you look at the symbolic meanings, that just becomes so illuminated. So here we are, the Egyptian army, which is that mindset and all of those rules and all of those things which have impacted our culture, are coming in, and we're right there at the Red Sea, a lot of us. And so the parting of the Red Sea means that we would walk through on dry land, which is on the truth of God. The symbolic representation of that is the truth. On the sides, of course, it's super chaotic. And I can imagine that the physical walking through the Red Sea would have been very traumatic. And then on the other side, of course, we have the wandering around the wilderness, because nobody knows what to do, because the whole mindset, the Egyptian mindset, which is studying the natural in order to be like God, is still in people. So here we are. There are great trials in each of our lives, and there's definitely a great trial going on around us. There is massive oppression, and the biggest oppression, I believe, is coming to that place and realizing that we are slaves. We are like the people who were enslaved, the period of time between Joseph and Moses. How did they get enslaved? The people became enslaved because of the economic policies of the Egyptian government. The fiat currency system, which is exactly what we have right now. It was 400 years between Joseph and Moses. It's been 400 years since we had the English language. The King James Bible was translated into English. Why? Because for political reasons. We have so many things that have taken our eyes off of our Creator, and put them onto the natural. And now we have to, we're right at that place that we have to choose. And it is incredibly stressful, and it is traumatic because it forces you to look at things that have been, our brains have been trained to think this way, and all of a sudden you're like, what? Like your head just doesn't want to recognize it. And I'm going to leave you with this. When I woke up the other day asking for revelation, I go to bed every night asking for revelation and dreams. But I woke up and Joe said I was preaching. One of the symbolic meanings of the name Adam is individual, and one of the symbolic meanings of the name Eve is the group, the collective. And so think about this now as to what's happened with how knowledge has come in. The deception, right? Eve was deceived, and Eve as the collective is now acting and behaving in a certain way, and we can see all this, but people are waking up. But it was the collective that impacted the individual. And so there's a lot of individuals right now making some really tough decisions. Do our young people, right, our next generation of freedom fighters, our next generation who's going to be there on the other side of the Red Sea to enter the promised land and to be the first generation in this beautiful kingdom age, and more on that later, because we are at the end of an age. We are not at the end of the world. Well, technically, I guess we are the end of the world as we know it, but the world as we know it is not the way God intended it. That collectively over hundreds of years, and really thousands of years, because the symbolic meaning of the name Cain is the twisting together of a network for economic and commercial control. Isn't that what we have with our political systems? So let me leave you with this. Would you please like, follow, and subscribe? You can join me at restoredhopetoday.com. Please subscribe there so we can get information out. Also, I am on Facebook, but mostly I'm active on Telegram. And on Telegram, we're free to share openly. And I will be having this 10-part little series on how God has revealed some of these things, and mostly so that you can start to step into this great hope that is just taken over. It's so beautiful. I'm so excited. I want to share that. So this 10-part video lessons, I'm working on that this afternoon. And follow me on Telegram. You can find me at t.me/faithful freedom. And there's also a forum where you can post and share things. And I'm really conscious of not just sharing the doom and the gloom and the stuff that triggers that fear response or that stress, even from within the freedom, the truth community. We want to share the hope and the positive. Where are we going? Because if all we can see is the pharaohs, the Egyptian army, and maybe going back to Egypt, we're missing the incredible hope and the beauty that's on the other side. And I'll share more about that as we get there. So the forum is t.me, so on Telegram, /faithful freedom fighters with an S. So you can subscribe, please, at restoredhopetoday.com. Like and share and subscribe on Rumble. There is YouTube as well. I'm just trying to really support the places where we can be open and free and share everything without censorship, and engage in dialogue, because we all learn from each other and we bring great hope. And so with that, God bless, be encouraged, and I look forward to sharing a lot more very soon. See, what have I done now? My goodness, there we go. Stop the recording. Don't lose this one. Hey, bye-bye.